All right, this is going to be a really good one. This is a tract with direct frontage on Bryant Creek in Douglas County, Missouri. You can see that rock barn right there. That's directly on the property. We're over the open meadow going up in the air. We're looking to the north. That's County Road 230 that crosses over the property. So now we're panning easterly. That's Bryant Creek. This tract does, like I said, it has direct frontage on Bryant Creek on its south side. Um, Actually, it has a small amount of frontage on the other side of the creek. If you look at the survey map, you can kind of check out the details on that. But for the most part, the creek itself is the border. So looking to the south across, that is some sort of children's camp, maybe a Baptist camp or something. But you've got good neighbors for sure on the south side there. So there's Bryant Creek. As we pan to the right a little bit, you can see Hunter Creek flowing into the Bryant Creek. It's gorgeous right there, and that's the Veracruz Conservation Area. So this property is about 400, 500 feet directly east of the conservation area, which we're looking at right now, Hunter Creek. And about the middle of the screen, there are some campsites on Hunter Creek in the conservation area. They also have some campsites on Bryant Creek, but it's about 80 acres of land that's open for camping. They have some primitive campsites that you can hunt and obviously fish in the creeks there. But here on this property, you do have your own direct frontage on Bryant Creek, which is pretty cool. So backing way up on the south, now we're basically looking north over the south part of the property. The trees you see on the bottom, those are not on the property. Those are across the river. And we'll have the survey map in the listing as well, so you can see exactly how it is situated. When you look at the aerial, I mean, it looks like a long, thin property, and it is long, but it's definitely not narrow. It's 215 feet wide, so wide enough that you've got multiple building sites. That whole bottom field that you see there, that is definitely going to be within the flood zone, so not not ideal building spots there. Going down to take a look at the creek. This is obviously a wintertime video, so we've got no leaves on the trees, and the water level's pretty low. But it kind of shows you what Bryant Creek is all about. It's just gorgeous. It's generally very clear, unless it's been raining hard, and then of course it's stirred up for a few days. But you can look right down and you can see the fish. Fishing, kayaking, canoeing right here, all very popular. Although this is more the quiet section of the creek. Most of the outfitters, the canoe rental places, they do their drop-offs a couple miles downriver from here. So that keeps this pretty quiet, which is nice. More family-oriented, I guess. Now it looks like we're trying to get pretty close here. We were feeling brave this afternoon, I guess. Looking up the creek. On the left, you can see that pure sandy bank there. It's just beautiful, and that's directly on the property. Really cool place to maybe have a picnic or put up a volleyball net and play some sand volleyball. So there's the truck on the property. Panning down river or down creek, I guess you would say. And off in the distance, you can see where the Hunter Creek flows into the Bryant, which is really just one of the prettiest spots that we've ever seen. This is probably one of the longest drone videos that we've ever done. This was actually 3 drone videos taken at the same time, because the drone would only let us record, I think, 6 minutes of video, and then we'd have to start a new one. So this is 2 or 3 of them spliced together. So we apologize in advance for the length, but it's a big property. There was a lot to see on this one. Right there on the bottom of the screen, you can see the power line. So power is directly on this property, which is awesome. It's available if you do need it. Phone would be at the county road, I'm sure. Now the deal on that rock barn, that has a lot of history actually as we look to the north. This area used to be, 100 years ago, a town called Veracruz. It was the county seat of Douglas County. And I am told that rock barn was several things. It was the post office. It was a general store at one time. Probably someone's living quarters, I'm not sure. And now the last several decades, it's been a hay barn. But it's in surprisingly good shape. It's pretty cool. I guess the original structure was wood. In the late 1800s, when they discovered concrete, they did the walls out of concrete, and then they added the rock outside the concrete, from what I understand. But really interesting structure. If you look dead ahead, you can see, I guess, tulips or whatever, which people tell me are indicative of someone having a building site there, when you see those in the early spring starting to come up. So we're looking easterly on the County Road 230. Land is on both sides. There's some Civil War history right in this area, the Battle of Veracruz. So there would have been troops surely going through this bottom field and through this town area. There was a mill in Hunter Creek, just a few hundred feet to the west. I mean, just a ton of history. There's a book written by a local historian who has passed away a few years ago, but his name is Jack Finyard, and you can search for that book on Amazon. It's been out of print for a while, but you can find copies if you look for a little bit. Or we have one. We'd be happy to let you leaf through it if you want to come into the office. It's really, really pretty interesting, and it does reference that particular rock barn, which is really cool. So as we go to the north past the rock barn, which I'm sure we'll do in a minute here, the land rises up. It gets fairly steep, and then as we get to the northern part, it borders County Road 214, and it does level off on the northern part. So I mean, you do have some options for building sites. That rock barn, I would say that is still in the flood zone. I would not recommend that at all for a building site, probably for storage. But man, it's super interesting, a lot of history. Not the day we took this video, but before this, we went for a little walk up behind the rock barn, discovered some huge pine trees, gorgeous, gorgeous timber up there. There was a little wet weather spring that was coming out of the hillside. It was not flowing the day that we took this video, so it's definitely not a year-round spring, but it was flowing when we were out there. Excuse me. Hopefully in a minute here, we'll go up to the north side of the property and check that out. I think that's what we're up to. Like I said earlier, this is obviously a wintertime video, so no leaves on the trees. It's going to look totally different in the spring and summer. But the awesome thing about a winter video is you can see, I mean, you can see everything with a wintertime drone video. Basically, any recent logging you would see, any trash or debris you would see, and this property looks really good. This has not been logged for decades, possibly some firewood. But there are some huge timber. There are some pine trees and hardwood trees that must, in my opinion, be well over 100 years old because they are huge. There you can see a stand of mature pines up there. And finally the sun comes out in the video. Makes all the difference. So we're kind of slowly heading north over the pine trees, and we're headed toward the north side of the property, where it does again have county road frontage. There's a little spot where we were able to pull the truck right off onto the property. So if you're interested in a fantastic view, probably that north side would be the way to go. You'd likely have to clear out some of the timber to get a view. As you know, if you've been looking at our properties or read any of our listings, the timber cannot be cut until the property's been paid for in full, although we do make written exceptions for trails, for building sites, and potentially for clearing for a view. You need to mark the timber that you wish to remove and then get a hold of us, and when we have someone in the area, we'll send them out that way to look at it, and if everything checks out, we'll get you written permission to cut those trees. But this property in particular is a good example of why we have that restriction, because there is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of timber on this property. So you definitely don't want to get in trouble with the law by cutting timber before the property's been paid for. Now we're getting close to the north part, and now we're into just about all hardwood, although there is some pine up there too, it looks like. I believe we're at about the northwest part of the corner of the property. We'll know in a minute when we get a little higher. Because if you look at the aerial map or the survey map, where the county road kind of dips down into a U, that's the north side of the property. But there's Bryant Creek on the north. You won't see that from the north side of the property because we're quite a bit up in the air, but just to give you kind of a feeling for the area. It's just gorgeous. Beautiful, unspoiled river bottom. So pretty. So panning to the south. Now we're looking right into the sun, so we're going to have to kind of deal with a little bit darker video, but hopefully in a minute we'll back up here and kind of know exactly where we are. Okay, so there you can see kind of the dip in the road. So that's the north side of the property. Right where that curve is where we pulled right onto the property. In order to create a site or a trail, you'll probably have to remove some of that smaller timber. But now we're basically looking dead south because you can see the truck in the meadow. So this is a great view of more or less the entire property. As we back up here, drones are so fun. We couldn't do this a couple years ago. There we go. So you can see, I mean, that big pine grove is like dead centered on the property, basically. If you look toward where that hill starts to drop down. And I think we're going to fly right back that way and end up at the truck again. Hopefully we'll get pretty low so we can get a good look at some of this timber. County road frontage, like I said, on the north, and also going across the middle of the property. Douglas County does a pretty good job maintaining their roads, but they have a lot of gravel roads to maintain. So it's one of those deals where you probably still do want a truck or an SUV, although these are county maintained roads, because they might not be graded as often as some counties that have fewer roads to deal with. Okay, so now we're headed southerly. And there you can see, actually right up here is a pretty good mix of, looks like pine, cedar, and hardwood trees. The shorter ones being the cedars, the slightly darker ones are the cedars. But there are some really nice pines. I mean, I think we got a couple photos of some of the bigger pines, and we'll try to put those in the listing. If I haven't mentioned it already, you can check instantacres.com to see if this property is available. We basically store the videos on YouTube so they can be linked to the listing. The buyers ask us to leave the videos on YouTube so they can continue to view them. So unfortunately, just because it's on YouTube doesn't mean it's available, but all you have to do is go to instantacres.com. And if it's available, it'll be there because that site is updated by the minute. So still headed south. Now we're getting kind of into the thick of that pine grove. And it's going to start to drop down, and then we'll start to see that the rock barn, I believe, at the base of the hillside. There you can see the roof of the rock barn. Just a unique property. It just has so much going for it. And then close to the conservation area, obviously one of the main points in my mind is the Bryant Creek frontage. That's extremely hard to find. To find anything on Bryant Creek is very rare. The history of the old rock barn, I mean, that's just super cool. So pretty unique property. If you've been looking for something special, then this might be it. Power right there behind the truck, and easy access right to the creek. I mean, you can fish from your own property, put your canoe in the water. You can float down about half a mile. There's a good bridge that goes over Bryant Creek. We've done that short little float a few times, and you can just have someone run down with a truck or four-wheeler and pick you up at the bridge. Bring you right back to the property. Pretty cool. So now we're looking north over the creek. One final view here. Be sure to check us out, like I said, at instantacres.com to see if this tract is still available. You're welcome to call us in the office or definitely email us at sales@instantacres.com. And if this one's gone, then we'll tell you what we do have. We'd love to hear from you.